Vivek has signed out or what? I don't see him. We are live on the YouTube, but then Vivek is not there. He was here. Jagdish bhai, wait, I will call him. Something has gone wrong because he just tested his screen and then I made it live on the YouTube and now, yeah, he's there. Yes, Vivek, you can switch on the video. Yes. You had signed out, Vivek?
I was just, trying those slides and it went out.
Okay. So now you are back, right? We can start the program.
Okay, great.
So good morning, friends. Welcome back to Shuttle Club meeting. And today we have Dr. Vivek Jain with us, a very fascinating and multifaceted personality. He's basically a sexologist and a dermatologist practicing in Vadodara. He did his MD from Baroda Medical College, and he's in private practice since 1992, so almost 3 decades. He's a multifaceted personality with extensive interest in solving puzzles and Sudokus and amongst the top 30 at national level championships. He's a national level pistol shooter also, and he's a columnist for Speaking Tree column of Times of India. This is a very brief introduction of Vivek, but I have known Vivek since a long time, and he's today going to talk to us about understanding alternate sexual orientations, the ABCs of LGBTQ. This topic itself is very, very interesting because we hear a lot about this, but we know little bit know about this whole group of people who have alternate sexual orientations, and there are a lot of misconceptions. There are so many terminologies used by different people. So we'll be looking forward to Dr. Vivek telling us about ABCs of LGBTQ. So over to Vivek.
Right.
Vivek, you have about 40-45 minutes to talk, and we'll keep 10-15 minutes for interaction. So over
Great,
to
great, great. Right. A very good morning to you all, colleagues, friends, and teachers. I was really very eagerly looking forward to a talk here. And thanks to Dr. Satish Bhai for having me over here. Let me tell you, this is a real wonderful forum where, varied doctors share varied topics and everything. And my topic for today, understanding alternate sexual orientations or identities and the ABCs of LGBTQ. I couldn't believe my luck. Just 2 weeks ago, precisely this was the subject of discussion in the Supreme Court. They have just come out with a ruling about same-sex marriage and everything. And secondly, this LGBTQ, over the last few weeks only, it has been expanded to include I and A also. We'll be seeing in one of the subsequent slides. So it is LGBTQIA+. So coming to the genesis of this talk. So it was just a matter of chance. I and my wife were at Bangkok, or more precisely at Pattaya, where I heard this term lady boy for the first time. Being in the field, it was really very surprising that I had never heard this term before. And so I came back and delved deeper into the subject, and it was really very enlightening. I also got to learn so many new things. And so I decided about this talk, demystifying the subject. A very important disclaimer. Now, see, we are not calling this alternate sexual problems or disorders. This DSM-5, it came out in 2013, and it does not include any diagnostic category that can be applied to people based on their sexual orientation. So all this LGBTQ is not in DSM right now, currently. Secondly, some of the terms in the presentation may seem derogatory, but since it is a medical talk, it is in no way intentional. And I had to rely a lot on the net and Wikipedia, because I realized, Wikipedia is the best and it gives the simplistic explanation of the terms which we'll be using subsequently. Very, very important. Much of the matter is from Wikipedia rather than from medical textbooks. So how I'll be going about my presentation. So in a couple of slides, I'll be covering the overview of sexology, Then we'll come to the core subject, that's understanding alternate orientation and the LGBTQ. Just one or two words about the Supreme Court ruling. And then at the end, I have a nice summary for you. Now, this cartoon here, sexology has percolated to small school children also. There is so much blast of knowledge on the net and everything. So even small children are aware of all the nitty-gritty ins and outs and everything. So there is this young girl who tells to a friend of her, you know what? I just came to know how babies are made. So the other girl replies, oh, that's nothing. I know how they are not made. So just a brief cartoon on that. Now, even Bollywood is warming up to the subject. So we had a host of new movies coming up. Shubh Mangal, Jyada Savdhan, Badhai Do, Aligarh. They all had this subject of homosexuality. So coming to the overview of sexology in a few slides, this is important to give you a basis of what is coming subsequently. And there are a few terminologies in this also, which are important. So overview of sexology, we have sex and problems in normal heterosexual male females. There are something known as sexual offenses. There are unnatural sexual offenses, and then there are sexual perversions. So basically, a heterosexual male female would have something known as the sexual act. We get patients who have lack of knowledge of the act, erectile dysfunctions, premature ejaculation, frigidity. Couples have fear of sex, misconceptions about masturbation, premarital counseling, and normal husband-wife relations, lack of desire, lack of interest, etc., etc. So once this is sorted out, we go on to fertility. I'm not going into the details of fertility, but one point I have realized in my practice, gynecologists, they often advise couples about this fertile period and have to have intercourse during fertile period to increase chances of pregnancy. So what I have seen in my practice is it is precisely those 3-4 days when the husband cannot perform and he has this erectile dysfunction. So a better way out is to advise the couple to have regular, frequent, and untimed intercourse. So that's the best way to increase chances of pregnancy. Secondly, a lot of patients, they come to us, they equate semen with the sexual performance. And then we have to go into a lecture about how semen is only about fertility and it has nothing to do about the sexual act. So then there are what are known as sexual offenses. So one of the most common is indecent assault. And there is not one day where we don't get to hear about this indecent assault. So we have this, situations on the airplanes, troubling air hostesses or troubling co-passengers, exhibitionism and, masturbation and all those things. This slide, which I'm sharing, is from a presentation of mine, which was some years ago. And KPS Gill, who was the Director General of Punjab Police, he was involved in one of these cases of indecent assault. And very recently, the Spain football body had to resign because the Spain football women's team, they won the World Cup and there was this episode on the stage and everything. So he had to resign because of indecent assault. So then there is rape, which is a very complex definition. And the onus is now moving from a female proving that she was raped to a male proving that he did not rape. And then there is adultery and incest. So this actually happened live on TV, an interview fondling the breasts of an interviewee, then inappropriately touching a women's bottom. So all this is indecent assault. So then there are unnatural sexual offenses. So there is sodomy here, which could be hetero or homosexual. Now, sodomy along with homosexuality was categorized as a crime. So homosexuality is now out of that criminal procedure code. Sodomy still remains. So those who indulge in consensual sodomy have this grouse that if it is behind closed door and not bothering anybody, why make it a crime? And then there is bestiality, sex with animals. And this is a graph from just yesterday's post. Noida man rapes a stray dog, throws it from 3rd floor after being spotted. So all this is in the news. And then if you're aware of the news, along with this Supreme Court ruling, 2 criminals, Mohinder and Surinder, they were also acquitted. This made some real great headlines 15, 20 years ago. And they had killed so many children and they were, slapped with this crime of pedophilia, child sexual abuse and necrophilia. and they have now been acquitted. And then finally, there are these sexual perversions, which are personality disorders. So prime of them is transvestism. So a person wears the clothes of an opposite sex to get sexual gratification or sexual pleasure. So Ayushmann Khurrana in Dream Girl, or Robin Williams in Mrs. Doubtfire, they are not transvestites because they are just cross-dressing because of the situation. Transvestism actually is wearing the opposite sex clothes to gain sexual pleasure or an orgasm or gratification. Similarly, there is exhibitionism. So very often we see this, PETA or Greenpeace activists, they streak around grounds without any clothes on. So that is exhibitionism. Then there is voyeurism. So hidden cameras in washrooms, in hostels, in changing rooms of malls and everything. So all this is voyeurism. So whoever are caught, they are charged with, crime of voyeurism. So even watching pornography in a way is voyeurism. Frotteurism is about rubbing your genitals against somebody else. Fetishism is a whole, it's a topic of so many Hollywood movies where the person, tries to grab an article or a piece of hair or something of the opposite sex to gain sexual satisfaction or, pleasure. And then finally, there is sadism and masochism. So sexology is a whole big topic. There are world and national associations, journals, conferences. So in India, Dr. Prakash Kothari, he pioneered sexology as a subject in India. And just one last slide. It's a very huge organizational setup. There is an American Board of Sexology, International Society for Sexual Medicine, World Association of Sexual Health, Society for Scientific Study of Sexuality, etc. So then coming to the core subject, that's understanding alternate orientations and LGBTQIA. Now, everything which is non-heterosexual can be divided into three major parts. So there are developmental defects or castration. There is something known as sexual orientation. And then there are alternate gender identities. So we'll take each of them separately. So coming to developmental defects. So a genotype of XSY is Klinefelter syndrome. XXX is trisomy X. XO is Turner syndrome. And very, very rare are XYY and XXX, which is very, very rare. Then there are something known as hermaphrodites, which is known as intersex. So they have external genitals of both male and female. And internal, they have what is known as ovotestis, a mixture of both. Then there is a pseudo-hermaphrodite who has external genitals which are unclear or of both, but internally there is a clear distinction whether it's a male or a female, ovaries or a testis. And then in differential diagnosis, we have eunuchs or hijras. There is a castration of male before puberty. Some communities have this castration of males before puberty. And because there is no testosterone, they develop female genitals and features. So this is what an hermaphrodite would look like. These are hijras, castration of a male before puberty. Now coming to other sexual related development disorders, there was this very interesting case of an Indian athlete, Shanti, who participated in this Doha Asian Games. And very surprisingly, she failed what is known as a gender test. And it turned out she was a patient of androgen resistance syndrome, ARS. So genotypically, she is XY, a male. But because the androgen works nowhere in the body, she is considered a female. And this medical board had certified. She is considered at par with females having no undue advantage of a male. So of this abbreviation, what all we discussed till now was intersex. LGBTQI stands for intersex. So people who are intersex have genitals, chromosomes, or reproductive organs that do not fit into a male-female sex binary. Their genitals may not match their reproductive organs, or they may have traits of both. So being intersex may be evident at birth, in childhood, later in adulthood, or never also. So that was I of LGBTQIA. Next comes sexual orientation. So what basically, sexually or romantically attracts you is known as sexual orientation. And this is known as a continuum. So there is asexual, heterosexual, homosexual, and bisexual. Homosexuality is a sexual attraction, romantic attraction, or sexual behavior between members of the same sex or gender. So it could be a male-male or a female-female. So respectively, they are known as gays or lesbians. A male-male, relationship can also be known as male having sex with male. Similarly, FSF is not possible because of obvious reasons. So this is the terminology about homosexuality, gay, lesbian. And then who is a bisexual? The term bisexual is used to describe a person who experiences emotional, romantic, and or sexual attractions to or engages in romantic or sexual relationship with more than one sex or gender. So remember, there is equal attraction towards both, but often one sex is more preferred. And the basic term here is more than one sex. It's not the opposite sex. It can be more than one sex, which we'll see in the subsequent slide. So that is bisexual. And then coming to asexual, a term used to describe someone who does not experience sexual attraction towards the individuals of any gender. Asexuality is a sexual orientation and is different from celibacy, in that celibacy is the choice of to refrain from engaging in sexual behaviors and does not comment on one's sexual attractions. So this also is not sexual aversion. What I have seen in my practice is couples, they are very happily married, husband, wife, they are happy, they love each other and everything, but talk of sex and they both hate it. So much so that I have had one or two couples, they were even discussing whether it's possible to have, artificial insemination or, ART without having to go through natural sex. So that is sexual aversion. Then there is celibacy and there is asexual, which is an orientation. So of this definition, LGBTQIA, we discussed lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and asexual. So this is the terminology. Then comes alternate gender identity. Now, this is a really complex and difficult for somebody who's a heterosexual to even understand or fathom. So gender identity is a personal sense of one's own gender. Gender identity can correlate to a person's assigned sex or can differ from it. In most individuals, the various biological determinants of sex are congruent and consistent with the individual's gender identity. So by the age of 2 or 4, it develops and a child is aware that he is a male or she is a female. And the operative word used here is nature and nurture. So a combination of these both, it determines the gender identity. So then who is a transgender? This is an umbrella term for persons whose gender identity or expression or behavior does not conform to that typically associated with the sex to which they were assigned at birth. So they were born as males, but they are not happy with that. And so they call themselves transgender. Just about less than 1% of the whole world's population is transgender, and it varies from 0.1 to 0.6% in various countries. So much so that, various countries, they have their census. So now they have started including transgender as a sex, male, female, transgender. So what happens basically, somebody is born a male, he grows up, but he is unhappy being a male. So he behaves, dresses, acts like a female. He's still very unhappy with all that. So he would have, surgery to have a breast implant or other minor surgeries to, treat his voice and everything, surgery on the voice box, glottis, etc. So that's when he's known as a trans woman or a lady boy. So this was a term we heard in, Thailand. This term lady boy is only common in about these 3-4 Southeast Asian countries, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and everywhere. Elsewhere, they are known as transgender or transsex. So also is the sequence for somebody who is born as a female. Now, this is very important and complex. A trans woman or a man can have their own sexual orientation. We had seen that earlier, sexual orientation. So they can be homosexual or bisexual too. So when a trans woman is homosexual, she has sexual attraction to another trans woman or another heterosexual woman. which is known as a cis woman. So in an extreme case, after all this sequence and everything, still the patient is not very happy. So then what is known as gender dysphoria, that's what the patient is suffering from, gender dysphoria. It is a distress, and this is the operative term here, distress. A person experiences due to a mismatch between their gender identity, their personal sense of own gender, and the sex assigned at birth. So that is known as gender dysphoria. So what would happen? Such a patient would ultimately undergo a sex reassignment surgery. This is a really very long, lengthy process. And the first step of this is a detailed psychiatry workup, which can take around 6-8 months. And the patient's nature and everything is understood. Still after that, it is followed by a hormone therapy, and endocrinologist is involved. And then finally, surgery, sex change surgery, which is known as. So once a patient undergoes this sex change, the transgender is now called a transsexual. So all that which we discuss is T, transgender of the abbreviation. Now, what is Q then? Now, gender queer, identity adopted by individuals who characterize themselves as neither male nor female, or as both, or as somewhere in between. Now, male, female, or a trans male, female, they are known as binaries, opposite of each other. So this Q is different from them, somewhere in between or both. Then it was really surprising, and it beat me. After we have covered everything, still something remains. So that is the plus. Everything not covered in the previous categories would be a plus. And this is an ever expanding list. And then I came to know there is something known as gender fluid also. So things keep changing with time. So it could be a transgender or a homosexual or a heterosexual or something. So with time, things keep on changing. So that is gender fluid. So the main question comes, why all this? So despite numerous attempts, no gay gene has been identified. It's not completely known why. Some might have a lesbian, gay, straight, or bisexual. But research shows that the sexual orientation is likely caused partly by biological factors that start before birth. People don't decide who they are attracted to, and therapy, treatment, or persuasion won't change a person's sexual orientation. You also can't turn a person into a gay person. Many experts believe that biological factors such as genetic influences, prenatal hormone levels, early experiences, experience later in the adolescence, in the hostels, etc., or adulthood may all contribute to the development of transgender identities. So then coming to the recent Supreme Court ruling. So what it has said, basically, a same-sex marriage is not valid, it is not possible. Now, remember, this LGBTQ community is a very united and a very strong body. First, they had themselves removed from the DSM, and rightly so. They are not abnormal in any way. And the Indian body is strongly against this ruling, which doesn't allow same-sex marriage. What the Supreme Court wants is the parliament or the politicians to take a call and make a ruling or an amendment in the constitution. So Manvendra Singh is a champion for LGBTQ cause. It's a mascot for them in India and in Gujarat. So he was against this verdict. And those who follow sports, there is this very good Duty Chand athlete who is also very open about her preferences and everything. She also says same-sex marriage will become a reality one day. And this was a whole big editorial in the Times of India discussing the pros and cons of the ruling. So this LGBT community, they have their own flag, which is known as a rainbow flag or a pride flag. It's a symbol of LGBT pride and social movements. The colors reflect the diversity of the LGBT community and the spectrum of human sexuality and gender. Using a rainbow flag as a symbol of LGBT pride began in San Francisco, California, but eventually became common in all such meetings and events worldwide. So basically the summary is there is something heterosexual, and everything non-heterosexual would be developmental defects. That would be intersex. There is orientation, asexual, lesbian, gay, and bisexual. And there is alternate gender identity, that is a transgender or a queer. those doctors who are approached by, such patients and everything, they can always direct them to this site, lgbtqindiaresource.in, which is a very one-stop solution for all their queries and, bonding up with other colleagues and friends, lgbtqindiaresource.in. This was just from the newspapers around 2 days ago. A book has come out where honoring the lives of Indians LGBTQ icons. So just to end, a few interesting cartoons here. Every couple of years, I get this uncontrollable urge to have sex with my wife. Do you think I should slow down? I thought I found Mr. Right, but it turned out he was already in a relationship with another Mr. Right. So remember, gay people, they are not to be discriminated or anything. They act like normal human beings. They have a personality. They don't force upon you to act fact that they are gay, and is a literally normal person that you can be friends with. And the gay people, other people don't respect or do not like is sexuality is the focal point of their existence. Rainbow flag, everything and everywhere, including not limited to the profile picture, clothing, jewelry. Complain about straight people consistently, and they dress like a clown to show that how the world how gay they are. Now, sexology is a real fascinating and interesting subject. It often lends itself to humor also. And just recently, this sexual sex and sex, which is doing a roller coaster ride. So a quote which associates sex and sex, "Teji ma time nathi and mandi ma mood nathi." So that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. You can switch off the screen sharing now.
Okay. Right.
So thank you for clarifying a lot of terminologies and putting it simply.
Yes. It's a real, exercise in, it's a work in progress. So many things keep on developing over time.
So as far as a pediatrician, what I see and what I'm actually going to see in future is this gender dysphoria in adolescence.
Right.
It's a very common problem in Western world because they are open to this kind of discussions and subject. But in India, it is still taking a little time to acknowledge that these are real issues,
Right.
which an adolescent expert or a counselor should be aware about.
Yes.
So I did have a girl, about 17 or 18-year-old girl, who had gender dysphoria, and there was a lot of conflict in the family because she was open about it and she wanted a sexual transformation surgery.
Okay.
She studied it so well that she knew the terms and a lot of information more than any other experts would know, because these days they read a lot, as you prepared your presentation.
Right.
Looking at resources from the net. Similarly,
Right.
these children are also very keen on learning about their orientations, and they are very clear about what they want to do. So there is major conflict between the child and the parents. And I hear from my colleagues in Western world that it's a huge problem there, gender dysphoria, and I do not see why it should not be here. So we should all, as medical persons, should be aware about this and should try to help these people rather than ignoring their issues.
Right.
So over to others for any comments or questions.
So much of it goes in counseling the parents that they should be accepting what the child is.
Yes. So this is one subject which is not discussed much, and people are not aware about the scientific facts about this subject. So it's good that you actually introduce us to this topic.
Right.
Which are have some more discussions on this.
Right.
So if there are any questions or comments, they are welcome. I do not see anybody raising.
Right. So basically, there is a clarification of the terminology. We hear about it so much, but patients or people are not very clear about what the terminology is and what is orientation and what is transgender. So all those are different things. which we as doctors need to understand.
Yes. Okay. If
Right,
there are
so
questions or comments, we end the session here.
I think this is a very basic to understand the different terminology for everyone. This is a
Yeah.
very good for everyone.
Yes. Important. Thanks, Kiran. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay.
So I hope I came across quite lucid and everything. Basic aim was to clarify the subject and the terminologies and everything.
Yes.
That was the aim.
It was very simply, portrayed as a subject where there are scientific issues to be,
Right. Delve into detail and everything. Yes. So basically, endocrinologists, surgeons, psychiatrists, they need to go deep into the subject and help and guide the patients.
Right. So maybe in future we will have a panel discussion on this involving all the people that
Specialists.
you mentioned.
Right.
So that we see if somebody has come across real life cases, that would throw more light on the
Exactly.
subject. And I have people, colleagues in USA who are dealing with these issues. We can invite them also. So I look forward to such session in the future.
So they are pediatricians or
they are adolescent experts. They are adolescent experts. There's a whole set of people who exclusively deal with gender dysphoria.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice. Great. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We end the session here.
Thank you so much.
We meet next Saturday morning again. Thank you all.
Thank you.